So, as we were saying, I am going to Tokyo for the Olympics next year, not to compete, because I'm desperately underweight for a sumo
Mm.
wrestler. So I did not make I did not qualify basically, but I am going to go over to put graphics on the Olympics instead, which is going to be a good fun job, and I'm quite excited about that. As long, of course, as long as um, COVID pending. Mafuggin COVID. As long as COVID doesn't fuck up my day and the Olympics actually go ahead, then I will be going to Japan next year, which is great because I've actually got a few Japanese filmmaking connections over there from the film festival I work on as well. So maybe I can message them beforehand and say, cast me in something.
Yes, well, I think one of your connections over there have just done, so they were documentary filmmakers, and their documentary was screening at the Show Me Shorts film festival, and they just posted an update on Facebook where they were releasing, and it may have been for Netflix, I'm not sure, but essentially it was a documentary all about the video game creators, the people behind some of the most famous video games, like and the designers of games like Final Fantasy and Street Fighter and
Yeah.
stuff like
But
that.
wait a minute. This is not, I mean, I've seen on the front page of Netflix, is that their documentary? I've seen on the front page of Netflix, it's been recommended to me several times, quite a big looking show all about video games and where they were born and how it all kind of came together. Um,
Yeah. Do you know what it's called? Can you remember what it's
that's
called?
huge. I'd have to have a quick look, but Netflix video game show. Um, High Score.
High Score. Let me just
Yeah.
double check that one. But I believe it was them that maybe created that one. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe this seems different. Um,
Well, because if it's that one, that's turns out we've got friends in high places because that's obviously doing very, very well. It's right on the front page. I watched the trailer a couple of times, but I didn't actually check it out yet.
well, I remember talking to them a little bit about it, and I was like, man, that's
Mm.
some rarefied air to be sort of interviewing and talking with people like that. They did say that a lot of them were crazy weirdos, like crazy,
Yeah,
unkempt, non-showering weirdos. Um,
disheveled,
so
just like you and me on
yes,
this
yes.
live
So
stream.
I was like, oh, cool. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't sound weird to me.
Mm.
Um, but yes, so that's pretty cool.
And I'll be able to hit them up when I go over.
Yeah, well, look, God giveth and He taketh away, and he
Yeah. So he took away the job that. So first, God gaveth me weed, a plant which grows naturally in the ground, and said, Harley, smoketh this weedeth, my
mm,
son.
mm.
And then God said, I'm going to, because you smoketh the weedeth, I'm going to take away this job opportunity. I'm going to make you one of the last victims of prohibition, and an ironic twist of fate that after years of being on the wrong side of the law when it comes to prohibition, that the month before it becomes legal, where I'm going to throw you under the bus, because that's the kind of thing that God would
God
do. You bastard.
God does have some ironic vibes, no doubt about it.
He, yeah.
Or, maybe more realistically, the guy that is playing you, um, you know, who is
In the
who is
simulation.
essentially God to us. He's controlling. He is like, it's like The Sims, right? And essentially
Yeah.
he's got all these people doing. So we probably act independently, but he sets up the scenarios for us, and then he sees how we react to them. And he's sort of angling to see how far you get before you end up Robin Williamsing it. But
Yeah.
he loves to do that with all sorts of things, with these
Mm.
sort of tantalizing things where you're like, this is really weird coincidence. Why am I here doing all this stuff? Why has everything led me to this point? It seems like it was like I'm being, led through a game.
Mm.
And comedically, I have these comedic pratfalls that they're laughing
Yeah.
at and seeing if, does he give up here? Is this when he gives up? Is
Mm,
this where he
mm,
does it?
mm.
And so yes, that's probably so. God or the simulator, one of the two, has yeah. But he's giving you this New Japan opportunity. Now the question is this another setup? Is this a setup takeaway type of situation?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, judging by the COVID, I feel like probably yes. COVID, hallowed be thy name, is probably going to actually give this to me and take it away from me.
yes.
I would
Well,
say.
COVID was a funny one because clearly, someone up there was playing the game, and he's like, God, it's just the same stuff, it's all the same. Everything's doing the same things. We need to we need to make things different. We need to fundamentally change the game, right? How do we do that? I know,
Mm,
global pandemic that tips every country completely upside down. Let's try that one. Let's try that.
mm.
So you got a fireball whiskey, whereas I'm
Yep.
steadily drinking ginger beer, uh,
Right. Yeah.
diet ginger beer, no less.
Well, when it all comes down to it, we'll see whose strategy worked out. At the end of
Mm.
life, when we look back on this, we'll see. I went for the fireball weed path. You went for the healthy living.
Well, I wouldn't call ginger beer healthy, but yeah.
Healthier.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's no alcohol in it, at least.
Marginally, probably
So
marginally.
sugar. It's just sugar.
Sugar,
It's just sugary.
I mean, there's a lot wrong with it, but it is quite, it is quite tasty. But I'm trying to cut down on my Diet Coke, so I'm drinking diet ginger beer, which is exactly the same thing. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, it's the diet that's the
Yeah.
issue. You got to get rid of that. You got to lose that dietness. That dietness is going to give you something bad.
Well, let's hope not. So we've been in lockdown. We were top of the world. We were bragging to everyone else. Liam
On this very
Liam
podcast.
Hegarty called us out. Called collectively New Zealand out. Said we had COVID privilege, and lo and behold, maybe not less than a week later, suddenly we were plunged back into lockdown. And so I have been teaching remotely. And now I'm in a position where I'm like, because lockdown, in theory, we have been told, is about to go to level 2. It's all about the levels here in New Zealand. So level 4 is like the worst. It's like batten down the hatches, literally don't go outside, don't do anything. Level 3 is everything is like contactless, but restaurants and bars and places aren't open. Stay at home if you can, work from home if you can, but go out and about should you really need to. And then level 2 is we open up all those things a little bit more, but there can be no big gatherings, no gatherings of over, well, that's changed, but currently no gatherings of over 10 people. Ceremonies like funerals, etc., limited to 50 with the social distancing. And now they're throwing in, which I'm all for, but because some people caught COVID off a bus, in all public transport is wear a face mask. Now it's become mandatory. Mandatory face masks over here. None of this.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm all for
none
it.
of this. Oh, you're taking away my rights to catch COVID and spread it everywhere.
Oh yeah, there is going to be a whole bunch of bus Karens. I just know that over the next little while, as this comes into force, there's going to be a whole bunch of bus Karens who will be going viral because they'll be yelling and screaming at those poor bus drivers, ruining their day because they're so unhappy about having to wear a mask on the bus. Now, to be fair, imagine being an Uber driver, because Uber drivers have to wear them.
Imagine being one. I will be one
how
shortly.
Many masks? Well, how many masks are you going to have to go through? Because, the idea is to wear a mask to protect your passengers, but it's also to protect you from your passengers. So presumably you have to change your mask with some regularity. I mean, would it just be one a day? Maybe, but even one a day, it's still quite a few.
Oh, it's also going to get pretty grim breathing that mask for a whole day.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd think maybe you'd actually go through a couple of different masks per day. So those Uber drivers out there, the Uber files.
Yeah, we haven't had an Uber files recently, but I have a feeling there's still more to come in my future. I have a feeling that I'm going to be back on the front lines at some point.
Or do you think that your job is not going to be continued?
Well, the thing about my job is they love to keep me
And
guessing.
speaking about your job, by the way, I did see that somebody from your campus had COVID.
Yes, so someone did catch a case of the COVIDs from my campus. It wasn't actually from my specific campus. It was from the Tech Park campus, which, even though I'm part of digital technologies, there's no technology involved. So I'm not part of Tech Park. And we got a letter from the Health Minister General, or whoever the hell it was, and he said basically no one has to worry. The person was not symptomatic when he went there, and it's all safe for anyone that was there, which I wasn't anyway. But I'm always not very confident. The walls are shrinking in towards me, and at some point there'll be no. I don't think there'll be the solution will be to let me go. It won't be to keep me around. And seeing as I've lost a large chunk of my students through this new lockdown, this is even more of a concern.
So you'll be COVID Uber driver once more, cracking open the Uber files.
Yep.
My landlord is a nice guy, but he's old. I don't know how old he is, but he's got to be at least in his 60s, and he's quite fat, and he appears to be in quite bad health.
Yes.
Overall. When I look at him, I don't see him as the picture of health, and yet he says, he's like, just open it up. Just open up the border. It's fine. It's getting in anyway. Just let it in. And I was like, mate, you're going to be the first to fucking go. If you catch it, you're not going to survive it.
No.
You're not going to survive it. It's not just the flu.
No.
But the flu might kill you. But it's not just the flu.
It's often worse.
It's much worse. It's a deadly virus. And it's going to fucking take you out. If we just open up the border. And he's like, nah, we just do, keep all the older people and people at risk, lock them away separately.
Like,
and I was like, how are you? That's you. How are you advocating for that? And then on top of that, it didn't work. It didn't work in Sweden. It didn't work in the UK. It hasn't worked. It's worked out. It's hard enough to stop it from getting into the damn island. And the first place that it gets in, when it does come here, the first place it seems to get into is old people's homes.
And also, what we're learning too is just, it's the level of contagiousness of it. Someone sat on a bus, some other people sat on that bus, presumably in the same seat, and caught COVID. That is literally just what's happened over here in New Zealand. It's that contagious. It's not good, but we assume we are going to level 2, which means that we can all go out and about, but we still have to maintain social distancing. Masks are mandatory. You get a $300 fine for not having one.
Dang, that's gonna affect poor people more than rich people, because poor people can't afford masks. They're like $50 for a packet of 30 of them, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, if at the supermarket, it's like $50 to $55. And I'm not that poor. And I'm like, damn, I ain't paying $55. Fuck it. I'll just take the risk. But if you're poor, you can't afford $55 on top of that week's groceries. I mean, it's like, what is it? Is it masks? And then or is it food, And you've got, poor households are often quite big households as well, which probably contributes to the poorness. But so if you've got a family of 5 or 6, or even 4, and everybody in that household needs to wear 1 mask a day at least, and you only get 30 masks for $55, they're gonna be spending so much money on masks. Too much money. They can't afford that. Nobody, it's hard to justify that. So again, this is a situation where rich people are going to be able to afford it, and it'll be poor people, and poor people are the ones who have to catch bloody buses anyway, like fucking animals. So it's going to be the poor people who are going to be disproportionately affected by that. But I'm all for it. And, obviously, measures need to be taken. But I'm just saying that maybe we should subsidize the masks, or just give the motherfuckers out for free.
Well, it does say that they are distributing some masks for free. Yep, they are doing that.
Oh, that's good.
But I don't know exactly where the distribution seems a little spotty on where those masks are going. But I agree that masks
Yeah.
are expensive, and when you're down to your last dollar, which you inevitably will be in a lockdown when you're poor, yeah,
In a
in a
recession.
recession, yeah, that's kind of a little bit tricky. But I do believe in the idea behind it. So masks are mandatory, and so we will be walking around with masks on in a few days because we come out of lockdown, in theory, on Monday. And then, in theory, also you will love, we should probably just quickly mention that they've discovered a new mini COVID cluster. And where, Harley? Your least favorite place in the world.
I've got so many favorite places. Somewhere with kids.
Yep. Well, this. Yep. Covers.
Yep.
Yep. Could be. Yep.
Yeah. Where is that?
Church.
Ah, yeah.
The church, Harley.
Yeah, well, of course they fucking are. This is the problem. People are being punished for their faith now. They're being punished by God for their fucking faith. And it's like, guys, it's a pandemic. Stop getting together in large groups. Christ alive. This is another case of religion poisoning everything. And it's like, it would be fine if you were just like, well, look, these anti-maskers and these other types of people out there that all insist on getting together into their big groups and stuff, you're tempted to go, well, look, that's Darwinism at work. It's Darwinism. You've got to get a Darwin Award, all these anti-maskers. And it's like, yeah. Well, that's fucking fine, except for the virus doesn't differentiate. The virus doesn't care. So, yes, it spreads amongst these anti-maskers and these churchgoers and so on. And then it's not going to stop me catching it at the supermarket or on the bus. Right?
Exactly, sitting in the same seat
it's
as
like,
as
I
those
can't
people.
take any pleasure from their death, and normally I'd love to take pleasure from the death of stupid people. Like anti-maskers.
Churchgoers.
Well, I didn't. I stopped at churchgoers. I said stupid people, which implies churchgoers, but doesn't say it outright.
Yeah, I thought.
No, that's terrible.
I thought that would set you off on a rant, so I'm glad that I managed to trigger you there. So yes. Now, to in their defense, this was before we knew about this outbreak.
Yeah.
They're not just defying, like they're just not waltzing into these churches and defying common sense.
But there are anti-maskers that did do that, and they had a protest, and they walked down the main street of Queen Street the other day,
very disappointing,
protesting the masks like fucking morons.
It's so weird because it's like, if you kind of change it to say, like, okay, you're breathing in toxic fumes, and these toxic fumes could kill you or someone you love if you breathe them in, right? That's what it is. It's toxic fumes about in the air. But you can prevent it and reduce the risk of inhaling these toxic fumes if you just put this mask on. I don't think everyone would be like, sweet, chuck that on. But because it's a virus, somehow it's different. But it's really very similar. So it's a bit of COVID madness. The COVID madness is spreading along with the virus. Unfortunately,
Idiocracy is what it is. Idiocracy becoming real. That's what it is. Idiocracy, the documentary.
Yes, a great film. Highly encourage everyone to check that out and be reminded of how prescient. I hope that's the right word. Man, who directed it? He's the guy that did Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill and Office Space, and I've forgotten his name, so I'm sure everyone knows who I'm talking about.
No, only Tyler Adams knows who you're talking about. Nobody else gives a shit.
Mike, someone maybe. Anyway, but also COVID has capitulated our plans as well. We were all gearing up from
word might not
capitulated.
Yeah, how's that destroyed our plans?
Well,
capitulate. Capitulate means to like surrender.
I thought it just meant kind of collapse. To surrender unconditionally on stipulated terms. Well, it's probably maybe not quite the right word then.
No, it's definitely not the right word.
Capitulate. To give up resistance.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay.
But it has disrupted our plans for sure, and it has destroyed our plans. And we should talk about that because we were supposed to have on the 23rd, which was 4 days ago, we were meant to have our world premiere of Older the Movie after 7 fucking years. This motherfucking film was finally going to come out, and it was going to come out with a really fun cinema screening where we hired a 192 seat cinema and we intended to sell it out. And we were doing all right. We had a good amount of sales. And then along comes COVID, Captain COVID, and it has resulted in us having to postpone it until the 30th and only be able to have 100 people in the cinema, but we still have to hire the same size cinema because we need to spread people out. We need to socially distance people. So now we can only have 100 people in the 192 seat cinema, and we've got to do it on the 30th. But okay, all right, no problem. That's all right. We can do that. And then the other day, Jacinda breaks the bad news to us that the lockdown has been extended a further 4 days, and that the lockdown now goes until 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, August the 30th, which is the night of our premiere. That was the night of it. So we missed out by about 5 hours. It was meant to be at 7 p.m. We missed out by 4 hours and 59 minutes. And so that's that. And then to make matters worse, once we go on Monday, we're not just in the clear. We're now in level 2, but we're not really in level 2. Level 2 means a limit of 100 people in 100 people gatherings. But actually, we're in this weird thing. It's like level 2.5, which is it's level 2, except for you can only have gatherings up to 10 people. Unless somebody died, then you can have a funeral, which is up to 50 people. But if you're having a screening of a movie, a world premiere of a movie, 10 people. So obviously we've got to postpone it again. So now we've had to postpone it 2 more weeks until September 13th, Sunday, September 13th. And so that's what we've done. We're hoping that we'll be in level 2.
Eased. But we don't know.
Not level 2.5. No, we don't know.
It's entirely possible that they won't be, and we'll be postponing it again.
Or just giving up.
Or just giving up, which is what I did suggest after this one.
But I vetoed that. I said no.
Stay the course.
I said hold. Yeah, stay the
course.
course.
Onto people's money.
We can still have a really fun screening on Sunday, September 13th. And so that's what we're going to do, all going well. And it will be nice to see it up on the big screen, and it will help with our marketing and our promotion to have all of the photos and from the evening and just all the posts, social media posts and all that stuff. That's all going to help us, obviously. So yeah, that is another way that COVID has affected our lives horribly.
Yes, well, it's also, when we do kind of get this, level 2, and we do have, I don't believe we're not allowed to drink or socialize afterwards. I believe that's not going to be, the bar's not going to be open for us.
It's we would be able to go to a bar. But the issue is, you remember on your birthday, Guy, your birthday was actually in level 2, and we had to be seated.
That's right.
And we had to have one servant who would come to us, and we could only have, I don't know, a certain amount of people per table. So say we've got 100 guests, we can't just be like, come on guys, head down to the pub, we're going to get shit-faced. We've got to go, come on guys, come down to the pub. We can each sit at our own individual tables, and we're not allowed to intermingle, and we have to sit at each table, and we can have a few drinks individually if we would like to, up to 10 people or whatever the limit is.
And don't get too close, whatever you do.
Yeah. I'll be encouraging people to get close to me if they're looking for a boyfriend.
So yeah, it has been very tricky and a little bit disappointing, and you'd think that maybe people would be more engaged to watch the film because they don't necessarily have much to do, which may partially be true, but there is also that general malaise of lockdown, where no one's really paying attention to shit. And they're just kind of drifting, and it's like, hey, did you see? Like, I've literally talked to people that have worked on this film, and I've been like, so you see us beating the drum on social media for the film? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, did you get the invite about the premiere? Oh, I'll have to go back and check. Key people, and it's just because that's that's the effect. So we are hopeful that that's going to happen. Mike Judge is the person that made Idiocracy and all those things.
And
Uh,
Lexi Graves actually beat Tyler Adams to the punch on
Tyler,
that
you're
one.
slipping, bro.
With,
You're slipping, mate.
yeah,
Come on, I would
yeah.
expect more from you. I'm a little disappointed.
Shout out, Lexi.
So yes, but we should say that. How could you help? How can the listeners help? There are a few ways to help, and two people that we're interacting with, I believe, have helped. But it's to leave a review, 5-star, preferably. It's up to you. I would suggest 5 stars.
But we will be horribly disappointed if it's anything less than 5 stars.
I would suggest 5 stars, but obviously that's up to individual tastes, and we're not one to put stars in your mouth, so to speak. But just review it on Amazon and say how much you enjoyed it. Tyler vetoes that he was second. He says not on his stream. He was first. Well, that might be that's possible.
Well, Lexi is on Twitch and Tyler is on YouTube, and on Restream chat, which collates all of them together. Lexi came in first at 8:13 and 17. No, so 8:07 and 43 seconds. Lexi commented, Mike Judge. At 8:07 and 53 seconds, 10 seconds later, Tyler Adams commented, Mike Judge. But Tyler gets bonus points because he used the appropriate capitals on Mike and Judge, whereas Lexi did use no capitals.
So too speedy, trying to get the answer out.
Yeah. And it would have taken 5 extra seconds per capital if she had got that correct.
Hold down the shift key.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. But yes, how can you help? Just leave a review. Leave a review on Amazon and IMDb. Because that makes it more visible, and that's really.
If you're leaving a review on IMDb, don't give it 5 stars.
That's only 50%.
That's only half, yeah. So if you're giving a review on IMDb, all you need is a Facebook account or a Google account, and you can go along there and you can give it 10 stars, and IMDb will ask you to sign in order to rate it or create an account. But it's like literally like 3 clicks. It just goes, Facebook goes, do you want to give IMDb permission to access your account? You click yes, and then you give it 10 stars.
Easy. So that is probably the best way you can help us, short of buying it or encouraging your friends to do all the things that we've just said. If you can coerce your friends to do the 5 stars or review it on Amazon and do all that thing, if you can get like one friend to do that, man, that's impressive, because you know how lazy people are. And you know how reluctant people are to do things. So if you can coerce your colleagues, your friends, your family to do this as well, then that's also very good. Although if your family has the same Amazon account as you can't leave a review. It's one per IP address, I think they say.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yes, but so that's really what we're campaigning for. And I thought it was interesting, right? It's what is weird now is, well, yes, we are saying to people, you can purchase it here and please do. But at a certain point, we're going to really no longer be saying that. And all we're going to be saying is, please watch it for free and give it a rating. And so the transition of us as filmmakers and like sort of collectively filmmakers, independent filmmakers, is now we're not even asking people for money. We're asking people for stars and streams. Alexi says it's not free in the States. I would suggest that she goes to, if she does have to be an Amazon Prime member, and then you have to go to primevideo.com as opposed to through Amazon itself. Otherwise,
it's very
confusing. But it's primevideo.com where
go to Prime
where
Video
it streams. But yes, you do have to have a Prime account, obviously, for that to work out.
So that was where the misunderstanding came from, because Lexi and I were talking the other day, and I was like, "What? You've got to pay for it, but don't you have an Amazon Prime account?" And it turns out you've got to go to primevideo.com in order to watch it there for free.
But then you have to go back to Amazon,
but you've also got
to rate it,
to do the review.
Yeah.
What an absolute clusterfuck. What a COVID clusterfuck.
Yeah. So I'm actually shocked. There's a lot of good stuff on Prime. So Prime is basically like sort of Netflix, but not really. and it's got like thousands of movies and TV shows as well. I just never really clued on to Prime. I use Prime to buy like SSD cards and things for my camera, but I have never ever used it up until recently for actually looking at things online. I did catch a amazing sword and sorcery epic called Death Stalker the other day, and it was very misogynistic, very exploitative, terrible acting, but a lot of hot-looking bods in that film. Pure cheese, a curiosity from the 80s is what I called it. That is not something that I would recommend unless you have a deep love of sword and sorceries and scantily clad men and women, and yes, exploitation. If that's up your alley,
All right.
then check it out.
In other news, do you remember 2019?
I remember it, a fleeting remembrance of something sweet that once was but now is no more. Vaguely.
Yeah. Well, I recall 2019 as well. The good old days when all we had to worry about was the horrific murder of 51 people by an Australian white supremacist, the worst crime in the history of New Zealand. That was 2019, the good old days. And they sentenced him today. A year, just over a year later, or a year and a bit later, they finally sentenced the terrorist behind it, and they gave him life in prison without parole, which I'm sure sounds very normal to our American listeners. They're like, yeah, he killed somebody, he goes to prison, no parole, we got it, yeah, normally. But this is actually the first time that sentence has ever been handed down in New Zealand. Because murderers in New Zealand often get life imprisonment, but really it's like 10 or 15 years, and then they get the option for parole if they've been well behaved and all these types of things. And they've, even if they don't get let out, they still have the option for parole at some point. But this guy has been given life in prison confirmed without parole. So in 50 years, this guy still won't be out. If he's 89 years old or 79 years old when he's in prison, in 50 years, he'll be 79 years old, and he still will not be allowed out under any circumstances. And that's good. That's good. That's exactly the type of sentence, frankly, he deserves worse. But I do think it's good that he's going to die in prison, and he's no chance of ever getting parole. I'm still sort of somewhat of the opinion that we should set him on fire, but this is the next best option. What annoys me though is that this scumbag is going to be eating food every day that I pay for, and he's going to have a roof over his head. It costs $100,000 a year or so, I heard, to keep a prisoner in prison in New Zealand, which is ridiculous. It's a crazy amount of money to put them into prison, to guard them, to all that stuff. It works out to $100,000 per prisoner. Which is insane. So he's going to be in there for 50 years or however long it costs at $100,000 a year. It's a ridiculous amount of money being spent on this scumbag who is 100% guilty. There's no denying it. He admits it, and he live streamed it. So I don't understand why we're not taking him out the back, putting a bullet in his head if he's lucky, and then sending his mum a bill for the fucking bullet. You asked 50 cents, and thanks for making such a shit cunt and sending him over here, you bitch. So
political.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about the what is it called? The death penalty.
Yeah, well, I'm actually anti the death penalty. As a liberal lefty, I am anti the death penalty, with the exception of cases where there's no doubt of guilt. If the crime is bad enough and there is no doubt of guilt, and there's no chance of an innocent person being, killed for a crime they didn't commit, well, then what's the damn issue? What's the damn issue? Well, I at least think we need to send this guy back to Australia. My only concern with sending him back to Australia is I'd be worried that those scumbag criminals over there would let him out too soon. They'll be like, oh, well, he's done 20 years, let him out now, because whatever. And I'd be worried about that. But as long as they agree to keep him in prison for the rest of his life, I think they should be paying for it. Fucking Australians,
I feel
man.
like we're on an episode of Talkback Radio right now. I feel like I've just
Yeah,
tuned
well,
into
yeah.
Talkback Radio with Harley Neville.
Yeah. It's angry, irate Harley Neville. Yeah. Tyler Adams on the live stream heard that it costs 18 times more for the death penalty than for the life without parole. And that might be true, but if it is true, it's true because of like inflated bureaucracy. Because what it costs to kill a man is a piece of rope, and you can reuse the rope. Like it's 20 bucks. It costs 20 bucks at Bunnings. Like grab a rope, string him up like a common criminal, which he is, and it costs 20 bucks. And then we, like, literally, as one of the witnesses, one of the people in court, one of the victims in court, who is going to go viral now. It's already gone viral. A picture of him flipping the bird to this murderer. He says that he should be buried in a landfill. Yeah, I'm with him, man. Hang the motherfucker and chuck him in a landfill. There's no doubt that he's guilty. I don't mind. I'm anti-death penalty, apart from when it's so obvious that he's guilty. If he's guilty, why are we spending money on him? The fucker.
Yes. Well, look, it's all very yeah. Well, look, I'm not really refuting any of that. I'm also anti-death penalty, but Kiwi Jesus says anti-death penalty, pro-prison justice. And I certainly hope some of that prison justice is served out to him, and I imagine it will be.
Well,
you won't have any friends.
But the thing is, they're keeping him separate. They're keeping him separate, so it costs even more. Because it costs even more, exactly. Because as soon as they let him into the general population, he's going to die, right? He's going to die. He's going to be beaten to death and shanked with a sharpened toothbrush, which is what he deserves. But unfortunately, we're going to instead pay to keep him separate from everybody else. So that's not how prison works. That's not what prison's for. Prison is for you to be put in there with the other fucking psychos and criminals.
Yeah.
And we're going to give this guy special protections. And he's not even a Kiwi.
Yeah. The Aussies.
Motherfucker.
Always letting the team
fucking
down.
Australians. Fucking Australians. Well, the thing is, right, that, like there's this idea that Kiwis and Aussies have this brotherhood, and I like to think we do, but I'm increasingly starting to wonder about that. And they're built, the Aussies are founded by, prison colonies, so they are the descendants of prison guards and prisoners. That's who colonized Australia, right? Now, Kiwis, on the other hand, we are an industrious, hardy frontier people. That's us. We came here voluntarily, and we conquered this land, not without its own crimes, but nevertheless, we're hardy frontier folk, colonists, as opposed to criminals forced to be sent here. And that is reflected in our politics today. I think our politics and attitudes.
Yes.
For our American listeners that don't perhaps understand the dynamic, think of New Zealand as Canada and Australia as America. Take that how you will.
So, sort of speaking of older, back to older. Thank you, Harley.
Okay, yeah, right.
Harley Hoskins Neville. So back to older. We did get some.
Something a little lighter, eh? We'll move back to something a little lighter.
We did get some good. We have got some pretty good feedback from a few people. But what I love is the ex-girlfriend feedback. This is my favorite type of feedback, where ex-girlfriends just message us about things that we never normally talk to, except when we've released something and they've clearly watched it. This is one of your ex-girlfriends who wrote a lovely comment. I don't think she listens to the podcast. I don't think she does, but if she does, shout out to her. Shout out to Lisa.
Yeah.
But she's a ex-girlfriend.
I actually lost my second virginity to Lisa. Yeah, when I was 16.
Right. Yes, that's right. So there you go. This is hilarious. Like, so how do you know this woman? Oh, I lost my virginity to her.
My second virginity.
Yes. Your post-puberty virginity.
Yeah.
Now this sounds really quite terrible for people that take that out of context, but um, yes, there was no, you're fine.
Well, there's no big secret here.
No.
I lost my virginity when I was
Mm.
10 to a 10-year-old. We were
Yeah.
both 10, and we had sex, and then I didn't have sex again for 6 more years until I was 16. Um, and that second time was with Lisa. Now I consider that to be my true kind of like virginity loss because like, there was, people came and so on. But the first time was, I mean, if you want to be technically I lost it when we did it. We did it when we were 10. And so that was my first virginity, and then but it was really just sort of an experiment that went too far. The kids, these fucking kids.
It was a joke you took too far.
It was the 90s. There was a crazy time in the 90s. Whereas my second virginity was more what you'd call your traditional virginity loss, where you have like a girlfriend and then, you work your way towards
virginity.
it. Yeah, run-of-the-mill virginity loss. And so, yes, I do consider it to be my second virginity that was taken by Lisa.
So she commented on our Vimeo channel about the film. I absolutely loved this film. It made me smile, laugh, and cry. I will be recommending it to everyone I know. I can't find the words to express how much I enjoyed watching this. It was beautiful. You've reached out and successfully captured a stage of life that most of us go through and put it on screen. It's incredible. Please keep making movies. Thank you, Lisa. That's very nice of you to say.
It is
These
nice.
are the comments that get you in the feels. Because this is the thing, is you'll get comments from lots of people and they go, congrats, man, I love the film, blah, blah, blah. And you go...
Looks like you worked really hard on that.
Put in a lot of effort.
You must be very
proud. One of my good wrestling friends said that to me. And I quickly pointed out, I didn't give him I gave him no quarter. I said, that is the statement that means you hated the fucking film. That is the statement that is, I can't give you a real compliment, so
But you must be very proud.
I'm framing this as if I'm giving you a compliment. And he was like, ha ha ha,
yeah.
I never realized. No, it's good. It's good. And I'm like, too late, motherfucker. You're on the blacklist.
Yeah.
And just like Harley with his cannabis, you're not getting off anytime soon. So anyway, but sometimes people do send you a comment that that's unexpected and that you actually go, huh, okay, I got through what I was trying to do. It actually worked. This thing we were making, what we set out to do, actually achieved the thing that we set out to do, which is very rare when you make something. Yes, I thought that was pretty cool. So shout out to Lisa. I also had an ex-girlfriend chime in from afar, who the last time I spoke to her, we're friends on Facebook. So just to negate Harley's theory that all my ex-girlfriends banned me on Facebook, still friends with her.
Yeah.
So she messaged.
Only. This is one of the two.
Well,
right?
I was counting in my head the other day. I'm pretty sure I've got 5 on there. I'm confident. For
5 X's. It sounds like you've got a loose definition of the word X.
5. That's to me.
Not every fling counts as an X.
That's 5 solid girlfriends here. That's 5 solid of about 10 solid girlfriends. I've got 5 on there. I've got a 50% friend rate. That's not too bad. So anyway, I heard from her, and the last time we spoke, she was asking us to take down the gay Lord of the Rings parody, which she featured in, involving her sucking off Frodo. As the Lady Galadriel, which we all remember that. We all remember that amazing scene from the films where Lady Galadriel sucks off Frodo and speaks to him with the ring.
Oh, your magic is quite strong, milady.
So that's exactly the last time I haven't heard from her in a while. Is what I'm telling you. Anyway, she chimed in to say she did enjoy the film, but she goes, was it based on real life? And I was like, oh look, there's some elements of real life. And she was like, yes, some elements.
Yeah.
And I was like, thanks. I'll talk to you in another 5 years.
Yeah.
So lovely to hear from our ex-girlfriends from time to time. I in fact did actually also hear from. Funny that we're talking about the girlfriend that you lost your virginity to. I actually got a message from the girlfriend I lost my virginity to very recently as well. And it's like, what do we like? She's lovely. She's a super cool person. Still friends with her on Facebook, of course, because it's not true what you.
Because I do that. I'm friends
not
with
what
my
you accused
exes.
me of, so that's cool. So anyway, so we talked, we had a little chat, and I was like, cool, it's funny because this defining moment that we have together, is this defining thing. So if we had to like phrase our relationship, it would be that, it would be that thing. And it's like, oh, so how do you know? Oh, I lost my I lost my virginity to her when I was 16. And so she had not watched the film, so I can't get an update from her. But I will reach out to all my exes on Facebook for an update for the next podcast.
Okay.
But thank you, Lisa, for that lovely comment. So probably that comment means that we were on the verge of giving up. Now we can continue to make movies that will sustain us for at least another few years. I feel that comment will sustain us for 3 years. That's a sustainable comment.
It contributes for sure. It contributes towards, this going on. But Christ alive, I need a win. I need a fucking win. I need a check. That's what I need. Here's what I need. I need movie groupies, or I need money. It's one of the two, or preferably both. That like I need something like that. I've got to have someone that's just like, oh my god, I saw you in Emmy the Vegan, or I saw you in Older, and I've just got to say, I really, really want to fornicate with you now, Harley. Or alternatively, I get a check. Like we actually make some fucking money for once. I have a feeling that most probably of those two situations, it's the latter that's most likely. I feel like I'm more likely to get a check than I am to get older groupies.
There's no doubt you will be getting a check. The question is, how big will that check be? And the answer could vary,
I think that it will be a few $1,000s, and I think and that's maybe being a little optimistic, but it'll be a few $1,000s if I'm lucky, and it will be for 7 years of work. And on the one hand, I'll be happy, but on the other hand, I'll be like, well, normally that's like a few weeks of work.
If you want to do the math.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think we're in a very interesting place with Older, because we are on the campaign trail. We are trying to get it out there. Like I said, the best way is to up our reviews and get into the algorithm, the Amazon algorithm good books, really.
We've got to awake the algorithm gods.
So, that's the best thing we could do. But I think the question for us, and this is something that we have to, really strategize, is how we sort of broaden our circles to introduce the film to new people without having a substantial amount of money to do that. Because obviously, if you can pay for sponsorship and all that sort of thing, but from everything that I've sort of read and heard, that's applicable when Johnny Depp's in your film, and you go, sweet, I want to catch a Johnny Depp film, and then you see a sponsored ad for a Johnny Depp trailer. If you see a sponsored ad for a Guy Pigden film, your first instinct may not be like, sweet, I got to catch that film. So then, therefore, does that mean that sort of that sponsored boost is, who have you ever in your life, Harley, seen a sponsored post, and I'm talking, I guess, about a film or a TV show, that has then made you go out and see that show?
Why, I assume so. You mean, yeah, I mean, if it's a relevant film to me, I assume it has worked. I mean, I'm not a big watcher of things, as we've established on the show.
Hate films.
I'm not a big watcher of things. But if a good war film is coming out or something like that, and they hit me with a sponsored, targeted, advertising, and I see it and I go, oh, the Greyhound, the what's his fucking name? Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
The Tom Hanks Greyhound movie, and it's about him being a ship commander in World War II. And it's like, okay, well, Tom Hanks has an excellent track record with Saving Private Ryan, and also co-producing Band of Brothers. So if he's made this Greyhound film about, it's called Greyhound for some reason, well, look, hey, maybe I will check it out. Now, admittedly, I didn't check it out, but I did mean to. I did mean to.
It's on the list.
I did watch the trailer. It's on the list. I did watch the trailer several times.
Well, yeah, I think that's the challenge, is like, because really it's the
Look, what we need is an audience that we had been building for years. If we had been regularly putting out content and building an active audience, we would right now have these subscribers who are once a month expecting a video from us, who or whatever, and these people would be, our hundreds of thousands of followers would be keen to hear about this thing. But instead, what we don't have that active following because we haven't been feeding them our content very often. It's so sporadic. This is the most regular thing we do, is this, and we don't really advertise it or push it in any way. We just poop it out onto the internet and assume the hardcores will share it, which they do occasionally. But so we haven't built the audience, the social media audience, and that's what we need. We need that social media audience. That's the way to get free viral reach.
Yes, but it's not the only way. It's not the only way that independent films market and get their film out there. And so we need to find that those things that do engage people, because film's good. Film's good.
It's a good film. I haven't watched it in years. I'm looking forward to seeing it, in its entirety. I mean, I haven't watched it in its entirety in years, and I'm looking forward to watching it in the cinema with everybody else.
Tyler Adams introduces us to a new place that it's available that we didn't know. He says it's available on Apple TV.
See, this is the thing, and I better tread carefully here, that is annoying me about our sales agent, is that it's out in all these places and they're not really keeping us abreast. They're just putting it out wherever they want. They're putting out, the shit censored version. We gave them a censored version that was meant to go to one place, because that place requested a censored version. Instead, they've taken the censored version and put it everywhere. The whole reason I fucking made this movie was that I liked that it was challenging, and that the sex in it was confronting and challenging, and we had to cut all that out. And now they're taking that version of it and putting it everywhere. And the thing is that would be okay. I'd be like, okay, that's fine. Except for this is the second time we've ended up with two separate cuts on the internet. The New Zealand cut is the cut we want. Same with I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. That's the cut we want people to see. That's the real cut. And then the international cut is this kind of lesser than version. And this is the version that people are reviewing online, and this is the version that people are pirating, and this is the version that everybody, the majority of people are going to see. And it feels like, well, I really wanted to avoid that this time. I really wanted to avoid that. And due to circumstances out of our control, that's not what's happened. This other version is out. It's out in a whole bunch of places. They're not telling us about it. They released it 2 weeks fucking early, and now it's up on platforms they're not even telling us about. But in other news, go and watch it on Apple TV. If you've got Apple TV, go and check that out. I bought an iPhone, right, a wee while ago. Last time, Lexi Graves was there actually. I was in LA and I went and bought an iPhone. And I bought this iPhone, and it comes with a free Apple TV subscription, which I never started. I don't know I've never set it up. I don't know what that is, but I could go and set up Apple TV on my TV right now, I think, and watch that. So, hey, that's good news. It's out there.
Yeah, I think I saw it.
Oh, no. Tyler Adams is saying that Greyhound is on Apple TV, not
that's
older.
Good.
So you can discard my entire rant.
Whole rant.
Everything I said. The
only thing that you shouldn't disregard is what he also said, which is I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. The shorter version and the longer version of older are the true cuts, and that is true.
So if you're the short version of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust is the director's cut, the long version of older is the director's cut.
So yes, we need to release it. Well, we wanted to release the full cut. We did everything that we could. We made it very clear what we wanted to do. But also, look, you also got to play the game, man. You got to play the game. So
Well, I am playing the game. I'm playing the game by not sending an irate email. That's me playing the game.
well,
What
I
else would I
did
do?
send an irate email, a very polite irate email, and they just sent back they sent back the least apologetic email I've ever received in my life.
Yeah.
About they were like basically like, yeah, we don't give a fuck, and fuck you guys for accusing us.
Yeah, basically.
So that's cool.
Ridiculous.
That's where we're at.
So obviously we're a high
We're a
priority
top
project.
priority. And we love to be treated with respect. You know, there's nothing better.
So this is what I'm saying. I need a win. I need a win. I need to be treated like a VIP at some point. Just once. Just once in my life. Just once in my life.
Well, it's early days. It's early days yet, mate. There's
It is early days.
that's the thing.
You know, they say build it and they will come. Well, I tell you what, we built this podcast. It's been 5 years. We've been doing it for 5 years. There's 180 episodes. This is the 180th episode of the Guy and Harley podcast. We built it and they're not coming.
Well, I will say though that, you know, we haven't done any of the things that we should be doing to like I did check our iTunes star rating on iTunes. Now
For the podcast? Or okay. How was it?
We've got, I think, 5 5-star ratings.
5 ratings in 5
so
years.
1 per
That's
year.
not
1
bad.
per year.
That's not bad.
And, you know, so the issue is also that we forget to mention this or remind people, but also, like, for example, how do you get more ratings? Well, one way is that you have to remind people, which we haven't been doing. The other way is to message everyone we know and go, give us a rating, here's the link, which we also have not done. And I say that because the reason why I checked our ratings is because I got a message from our friend Will Fleming, who messaged me to say, hey, could you please rate my podcast? And so I was like, oh, yeah, shit, I better check our ratings because that would mean a lot to us. And there we go. So,
but we have over the years encouraged people, and shout out to Tyler Adams, who says that
right.
he did it.
Yes.
And I have also shared it, saying that. Now, admittedly, I don't push it, but yeah, you're right. We need to do more
and
of that
like,
pushing.
You know,
so,
we need to play it.
Wherever you're listening, if you're listening right now, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes. That really helps. If you're anywhere else, hit thumbs up, hit like. If you're on YouTube, hit thumbs up. You know, all that stuff helps.
Also,
really makes a big difference to us. It costs a few seconds of your time, but it gives us a lifetime of content, passive income if it takes off.
Also, I don't think it's build it and they will come. It's build it and promote it and they will come. We're missing the second
Well, that's
part.
not what the saying is.
Missing the second
Yeah, but that's not what the saying. The saying is build it and they will come. That's the saying. But we're building it and ain't nobody coming.
But you know, like I said, if I
apart from Kiwi Jezza, who says he came once when he was listening to the show, but he felt gross and hasn't done it since.
We're not here to judge. If that's when you feel like it's time to do those sorts of things, then hey, go for it, mate. Go hell for leather, you know. But you know, I could understand how listening to our voices at the same time would be very disruptive. And now Kiwi Jizza asks, are you sure that the reviews aren't just the Kiwi ones? Look, you may be right because that's where I'm taken. So there may be actually more. But yes, it is on us to kind of create those snippets and promotional stuff. I also have just checked. I don't think Older has been pirated yet. So is that the true mark of success when you've been pirated? Or should we fear that day with great apprehension?
Well, I think it is kind of the mark of success when it has been pirated. It's a shame that it happens, but when it does happen, it's like, well, you know, that's a million more people that have seen it maybe who wouldn't have bothered to watch it anyway. So it's not so bad. And Tyler Adams on the live stream does also say that we need to encourage people to like and so on at the end of every video. And that's totally true. That's one of the rules they taught me at the YouTube Creator Club that I went to, the New Zealand YouTuber event that I got invited to, and it was like, yeah, you've got to tell people, you've got to ask them at the end, tell them what to do. And I also listen to Hardcore History a lot, and at the end of Hardcore History, they play a pre-recorded thing that says, enjoyed the show. Give us a buck a show. That's all we ask. Dan and whoever would really enjoy it. And it just automatically plays at the end of every single episode. And sometimes they'll play two of them and it'll have two different voiceovers. And the other one will say, hey, don't forget to subscribe, or, whatever it is. We definitely need to do that. We definitely need to do that stuff. What we need is to create some assets, which we then incorporate into every single show, which we put in at the end of every show, and we share these assets. So, admittedly, it is definitely our fault.
Yeah. Okay, we've got to shoulder the blame here.
The issue, though, one of the big issues I have, right, is that what I like about this show is that I can be open and honest with the listeners, and that's what makes the show interesting, I think, because this is a filmmaking podcast.
It's a podcast about our lives.
And sometimes we want to talk about our lives. But that doesn't mean I want, every bigwig that's on my Facebook to necessarily be tuning in. I don't want
say that you don't want any of them tuning in. With
exactly
some of the things you some of the rants you go on.
well, yeah, exactly. And yet the rants are my most favorite part. I want to jump on here and let loose. This is the point. I don't want a censored, sanitized version of this show. I want to get on here and fucking let loose. That's the whole point. And I can't do that, obviously, if I fear that, industry professionals that might judge me are going to be tuning in, or people that could be hiring me, or, the fucking boomer who just told me I can't have a job because I smoked weed last month. I don't want these motherfuckers tuning in, right? So it's like, how much do you promote this before you lose its artistic integrity?
Well,
that's the question.
None, if you're careful about where you promote it to, I suppose. To sort of keep that honest conversation going. Lexi says she sees 4 reviews.
But Lexi's in America, so maybe it's 4 American reviews.
Yes. So I have been watching. So we our sales agent is Indie Rights, and we are represented by Indie Rights.
All right. Wasn't gonna name them given my rant before, but all right, it's done now. No problem. I always prefer not to name names on the show. For that very reason we just spoke of, which is that I like to be able to speak freely. But that's fine. It's done now.
We've said that multiple times on this show.
I know, but you don't say it in the same episode that you fucking complain,
So anyway, we are with Indie Rights, and so I've been watching a few Indie Rights films, and I have to say that I have not been overly enthused with a lot of what I have watched, but there was one in particular which is on Amazon Prime. I thought was pretty good, and it's called The Berlin Bride. And the beauty of this is it's just over an hour long, so it's not even a super long watch, and it basically is almost a silent film, kind of in the style of like an old like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton style thing, and it's really really good. It's really interesting. And it was actually filmed, or a majority of it was filmed 30 years ago, with some inserts being put in like maybe a year ago. I had a little chat with the director. So it's actually in a 4:3 aspect ratio, and like it still looks amazing. Like it was obviously shot on film at the time, but then he had to recreate that 30 years later and shoot stuff that had to slot in seamlessly. Also, the idea that he sort of lost this film for 30 years and then finally released it is a testament to independent filmmaking, the spirit of independent filmmaking. And also reminds me that 30 years? What are you complaining about 7 for, motherfucker? It took him 30 to release this film.
That doesn't inspire me. I don't give a shit that other people failed worse than us. Like that doesn't inspire me.
Well, that inspires me because I think that
Is this guy getting groupies?
Well, we don't know.
Is this guy making money?
We don't really. Well, actually, we could find that out quite easily. But I definitely recommend checking it out. The Berlin Bride.
Well, can you ask him about the group? Can you ask him about the groupies,
Yeah, I
please?
feel like your focus for what you want to get out of filmmaking is somewhat skewed.
My definition of success.
Yeah, somewhat
My definition of
skewed. Success.
But that's easy for you to say there on your high horse as you're going to tonight in a few hours you're going to get into bed with a beautiful woman that you love.
Yes, that's true.
I'm going to get into my lonely cold bed and stare at the same roof that I stare at, have stared at. I stare at roofs by myself for the last 3 years now. I've done this. It's my definitions of success are a little different than yours because my circumstances are a little different than yours.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. But you would be as groupie obsessed as I am if you were in my circumstances.
Yeah, I do feel that you're somewhat exaggerating your circumstances.
No, can I tell you the truth?
Yes.
I've had sex twice this year.
Yeah.
It's August, for crying out loud. And I don't remember when the time was before that. It wasn't like right at the end of the year. It wasn't like, December 31st and I'm having sex.
3 months. What's the big deal?
There's August is the 8th month of the year. So that's one every 4 months.
Plus you've had to contest with lockdown. So that takes
and it was the same one. It was the same one, by the way. It wasn't two separate ones. It was the same one.
It takes 2 months off it.
Twice. So,
but I also, I will remind you of many conversations you've had potentially on this podcast where you've bemoaned the effort you've had to make going out and dating and the lengths that you've had to go to of non-repliers on the thing.
Excuse me, I'm a fucking movie star. How much effort should I have to put in here exactly? Okay, I'm the world's most eligible bachelor, all right? I'm emotionally mature, financially secure. Not really, but not too bad. I'm healthy. I can have interesting conversations. I've got an interesting career and lifestyle. You know what the big issue is? I never spend any time with the fear of sex. None. The woman I talk to the most in my life at the moment is the girl that works at the cafe down the road. I talk to her, almost on the daily, but I've got to get takeaway coffees at the moment. So I just walk in there and I get my coffee and she says, "Hi, Harley." And I say, "Hi." And she says, just the coffee, is it? Large latte, is it? And I go, yeah. Yeah. And then there might be some small talk if we're lucky, and then she gives me my coffee and I leave.
Yep.
That's it. That's the interactions I have with females in real life.
You need to do first. You've got to build it. You've got to promote it, and they will come, mate. And that is.
I've been building and promoting for years, and they ain't coming.
That is through. That's through the new dating sites. You've got to put that effort in there. You've got to get onto them.
I've been trying on these dating sites.
Bumbling.
Guy, I'm a short, bald man in his late 30s who has set his settings to like 18 to 34 type thing. I'm 37. Yeah. They're not interested. But the thing is, now you say, okay, Harley. Well, obviously you've got to aim a little lower. And so, okay, sure. Here's the issue though. I want to have children at some point, and there's no point in, trying to date women. If I want to date a woman for a few years before we have a child, then obviously it's biology. It's not my fault. This person needs to be in, say, approximately their early 30s, Now, so I've got to set it to that, 18 to 34, right? If I want to have kids with them eventually. Otherwise, I'm just wasting my damn time and their time, right? And I can't be spending 5 years at a time on these relationships if they're not going to work out. And there's no point if my goal is to have children as well, which it is, that's what I want to do. Not immediately, but in a couple of years after getting to know them well. So I'm not being unreasonable here. They're being unreasonable by not being interested in me.
Yeah, well, Harley, I also think you haven't really exercised all the dating site options. You know, there are literally dating sites specifically designed exactly for what you're talking about, which is like,
Listen, mate, I do the helicopter with
yeah,
my
that's
penis
yeah,
on
exactly.
Bumble and
But
Tinder, swiping right with reckless
j- the,
abandon. And I'm swiping them
yeah,
all to the
so
right. And I'm getting one match every once in a blue moon. And then they pop up and they go,
so
hey,
instead you're going to have to pay a little
hey,
subscription
what,
fee, and
Karen?
you're going to have to write up a proper profile, and you're going to have to talk to these women properly, and you're going to actually have to put in some effort, Harley. And then
Okay, but to be
mm.
really fair, I have. This is not like I
Well,
haven't
no,
put in
okay.
effort.
What dating sites are you on that are not Bumble and Tinder?
So other than Bumble
Yeah,
and
because
Tinder, obviously I'm
exactly.
not
So
on any
if the
other one.
answer is none, then no, then you're not doing the due diligence there, because there's a
No,
lot of
that's
other sites that
ridiculous.
are more designed, better designed for people like yourself, that you are not engaging with.
Well, if somebody can send me the link to these sites, where these people would like to, develop a relationship with me, then absolutely, I don't mind using
Hmm.
them. You can't blame me for not
Well,
knowing
I
about
don't
them,
know if a cursory Google might send you in the right direction there, mate. I don't
or it might send me down a rabbit hole of scammy websites.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that will be my suggestion. So, what you need to do is we've had the Bumble and the Tinder files. Now, what we need is the paid dating subscription files. That needs to be the next one.
Okay, here's what I was looking at. Now, this is exciting. This is an update actually. This is might be the beginning of one of our long-term story
Mm,
arcs, our long-term Guy and Harley podcast
mm,
story arcs. I did see something
mm,
interesting. I saw a sign the other day. Now this sign was obviously put up
mm.
pre-COVID, not pre-COVID, but pre the latest
Yep.
lockdown. Now I did see a sign. It's called Mingle at the Museum, and it's you pay $45 and you go to the museum. It's only single people, and they presumably they provide wine, and there's some activities that you do at the museum. And if they're at the museum, one has to assume that there's the potential for an intellectual connection here, and that they might have something in common, shared interests and so
Mm.
on. And so mingle at the museum. It's on September 2nd, but that is only a week away. It's 5 days away or so. But that was I don't know if that's still happening or
Yep.
not with the new level situation. But I might go along to that. I might put on my best big boy
Yep.
shoes. And I'll put on pants that don't sag my
Mm-hmm,
ass.
mm-hmm,
I won't be sagging my
mm-hmm.
pants. I'll wear some pants that show off the round little peach that is my bottom, and then I'll rock along and see if maybe I could meet somebody there.
Well,
That's a good way to
I
meet
agree.
people. It's meeting them in
It's a good
person.
idea. It's a good idea.
These
But there's
apps,
there's
these
there's
apps, man. I'm not
yeah.
bit. These apps are
There's
trouble.
millions of exactly those type of things, not quite right now happening. Plus, you've got these new dating sites to maybe engage with, and who knows, mate? But until you've
These
exhausted all
new
your yeah,
dating sites. What dating sites, Guy? The new dating
I
sites.
literally. Do you want me
What
to Google
dating
right
sites,
now?
Guy? Yeah, Guy. I want you to Google them and find them for me and send them
Okay,
on
well,
through.
first one right off the
But
top of the bat,
preferably,
which is where our good friend met their person. Yep,
OK
there you go.
Cupid. I never tried it.
Despite having proven successful for other of our friends, never tried it. Yeah.
Who's tried it?
Uh,
Who's
Amita
tried it?
Vegan. That's how she met her long-term partner.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So,
Okay.
so there we go. Uh,
Well, yeah. But I have one other slight issue, and this issue does it involves you. You see, because I don't want to meet one of these cubicle Monday to Friday plebs that crawls along the highway every morning at 8 a.m. to get to a shitty cubicle job, and then who looks at me with an air of superiority, considering me to be unemployed. when, she is the one chained to a desk doing this pleb shit so that she could buy a fucking couch and live in like an apartment somewhere. I don't want that shit. And I certainly don't want to be dealing with a person who has to get up at 7 in the morning to be ready to leave the house at 8, to drive or crawl along the highway like a diligent little ant, and then get to work 9 to 5, crawl along the highway, get home at 6 p.m. or 6:30, and be miserable. I don't want that. I want to meet somebody creative who is making a creative life out of it. And these people, they get locked into these boring lives. And that's what I've found in Auckland, is that all of the people here are fucking boring. I'm yet to meet anybody, that's not living that type of life. And then sometimes I guess actually, that's a bit of a lie. Sometimes I do meet these people who are creative, interesting people who are making a life out of an alternative, way of making a living, and they're creating art and stuff. Those people, for my entire life, have never been interested in me. Never.
Guess
Never
we're
been
gonna
interested.
start making better content.
Well, I don't know what it is. I wonder if it's like a tall poppy thing, where it's kind of like, well, they're like, man, I don't want to deal with this guy and his shit, and my shit's better than his shit, and who
Look, that's
fuck? Fuck
that is an
guy.
interesting theory, because actually, at the end of the day, there is that. Look, what would happen, right, if you dated an artistic, creative person who was infinitely more successful than you at everything they did, which was the same thing that you did? So you write a script, they write a much better script. You make a movie, they make a much better movie. You act in something, they act in something and far outperform you. Like, where do you would that bother you? Would you feel like intimidated by that? Would you feel just naturally just jealous of that, because you're like, man, I'm trying to get to this level and my freaking girlfriend is just lording this over me with every fucking thing she does?
I can honestly say that I believe that I would be proud of her, and I would be proud of the fact that I am dating her. And I would be like, that's awesome. And what's good for her is good for me. I mean, if she acts in something much bigger and better than what I'm acting in, that's still going to be good for me. I'm going to see the opportunity in that, because that's the kind of motherfucker I am. I'll be like, ooh, you're acting in that, which means that maybe through your connections, you can get me a walk on role. Fucking A. Yesterday, I didn't have a walk-on role. Today, I've got a walk-on role. That's exactly what this is all about. It's about inspiring each other, creating opportunities for each other, bouncing off each other, so to speak, with ideas and opportunities, and that collaborating. That's exactly what I want. And if she's more successful than me, I mean, my dick's big enough. I don't care. I don't care. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. Like, I'm happy, actually. I mean, what I'm doing is I'm this is not quite the right term, but like punching up. You know what I mean? Like, it's good. I am the one who's being drawn up by her success, as opposed to drawing somebody up with me. And I'm cool with that. I'm fully comfortable. I'm emotionally mature enough to be cool with that. I would love to date somebody more successful than me in a creative field. That's better than dating somebody who's less successful than me in a creative field. Though I'd still be happy with that too, as long as her goal is to uh, create art and make a living out of it, and live a passionate non-pleb existence. Then I would be very happy with that situation.
Well, Lexi Graves does make a good point here. You can be creative in other industries.
Absolutely, but I'm yet to meet one of those people. So I'm, I don't mind if, say, somebody is like, I want to have my own business, and you go, okay, cool. Well, what are you doing to create that business? Okay, how can we work together? Maybe I can help you create some video content. Maybe you can help me in some way with something I'm working on. And it all kind of works out. But sadly, in Auckland at least, and this is another part of why I was keen to go down to Dunedin, is that maybe in Auckland, this is just a pleb city. It's for plebs. It's for a pleb city, especially the central suburbs, where it's like, okay, these are like office people. That's what these people do. It's like, what do you do? I'm an executive assistant to like some wanker at the bank.
Yeah, I guess so. But also, you could theorize that these quote unquote pleb people are very creative in their other pursuits, perhaps their hobbies and stuff and all that
That's
sort of
cool.
thing.
Yeah.
But you're
It
saying
could
you've
be.
never met anyone that like that. Look, let's table this one, mark it down. What's the time code? Whatever it is, the day that Harley swore to be single for the rest of his life.
No, I'm trying. I'm trying.
Well,
My life. Okay, can I tell you about my life? I have succeeded myself to death. That's what I've done. I am the definition of success. I sit around and I just somehow get paid for it. I walk into places and I just be myself. And while I'm there, I get paid to be me. And it's awesome. And I can do, there's very little stress in my life in terms of like, things I have to do, places I have to be. And it's really good. I really like it. But I've got nobody to share it with. I've succeeded myself to death.
Interesting theory. Interesting perspective, shall we say, on your life.
Because that's not how it looks from the
I mean,
outside, Harley. But
outside looking in, I'm not sure that you've quite succeeded to death, but but that's cool. I'm glad that that's the way you look at things. So yes, I guess we'll continue to follow that journey, but I think that maybe it's a matter of adjusting that perspective just a little touch. And
okay, but what should I adjust it to?
Well, see if these pleb people could maybe have the potential to make you happy and have a good relationship with. And
Well, obviously, I have dated several of these plebs on a number of occasions since my ex-girlfriend left.
Angie.
I have dated a number of plebs since then. And that was the big issue for me, was like, I was like, look, I'm not really willing to pursue this pleb life, because I was like, man, like I can try really hard to make this person love me. But at the end of the day, their lifestyle just seems so dull to me. And I'm like, look, no, I don't really. They're so small. They live in these little small worlds, and I'm like, no, I don't want that. I've got to find somebody who has. Oh, look, I'm looking for the female version of me. That's what I need. The female version of me.
Yeah, I get that. I think that's definitely see that.
You egomaniac. So yeah.
So well. Yeah, we'll see if that person exists. Cool. Well, I think that really covers it. We've run the gamut here. I don't think there's anything else to add, except like and subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and Facebook. Leave a comment and a review, whatever you can do for older, and
please do.
and all that sort of thing, because it does help us. And now we're looking for we've got to expand our circle in concentric circles. That's what we need to do. Expand our circle in concentric circles. I hope that's the right term. That's circles that overlap, I believe, but I could be wrong about that. And then introduce them to our good work. And everyone can help with that by forcing our work upon them.
Now, if you go to olderfilm.com, hit Control T right now, it'll open a new tab for you if you're on a Mac. And you can go olderfilm.com, and there's a big Buy Now button. Now you click on that Buy Now button, it leads to a link tree page. And on that link tree page is everything you need. There's the trailer is there, the Vimeo version is there. The Vimeo special edition is not there. We need to get that fixed. But the Amazon is there, Google Play is there, and that's a great place to go. And if you haven't seen Older yet, we would really appreciate it. The feedback has been great. People are enjoying it. And we do think that you'll enjoy it too. We've been working on it for so long. You've been listening to us for so long. So it would really, we do feel like even if you're not into drama romances, you have you have somewhat an obligation to check it out, given the years. And we've literally been talking about, we've been talking about this movie since before we started this podcast. The entire life of this podcast, this film has not been out, and now it's out. So please do go check it out. We do think you'll enjoy it. Please share it with your friends. Please help us reach your circles. And the main thing we're trying to do at the moment is we're trying to get Amazon reviews, because we believe that if we get 50, we have been indicated that if we get 50 reviews on the on Amazon, that we will awake the algorithm gods, and then it can perhaps build by itself by being on the front page and so on. So it makes a huge difference to us. So that's the main thing we're trying to do. So please go and help us with that. But if you can't do that, and if you've already seen the film or whatever, just make sure you hit like wherever you're listening, hit share, hit follow. And if you're on iTunes, or if you've got iTunes, go and search for the Guy and Harley podcast, and please give us a 5-star review and write us a few, just one paragraph saying about how and why you enjoyed the film, sorry, the show. And that makes a big difference, and that helps the show get out in front of people as well.
So, thank you all very much. And we shall see you next time, when hopefully we're down to level 2. And Harley is back on his dating mission, where he can actually see people face to face. He's signed up to OkCupid. He's going to tell us all about how that's gone, and the many detailed exchanges he's had with all these women beating down his door. So so we've got to that to look forward to.
Every Thursday at 7 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time. That's when we record this show.
Most of the time.
So make sure you tune back in. That's what we aim for, at least. So tune in. Tune in next week. We'll be back.
Thank you very much, everybody. See you later.